Hey there guys, welcome back to Doug and Racecraft YouTube channel. On this episode, we finally finished the twin turbo kit on that 1997 Mustang Cobra. Before we get into this video, I just want to take a quick second to thank everybody who liked and subscribed after the last video. That last video of the LTD has been my best video so far, by far. I think we picked up over 120 subscribers from that last one, which is like, I don't know, roughly 20-25% increase from where I was before that. So you guys absolutely smashed my goal for the year for subscribers, pushing me right over 500, right to 600. I do appreciate that. It does not go unnoticed. Over this next year, since we're at the end of 2021 into 2022, I'm going to do these videos a lot more consistently. This is kind of just a feeler period for me, just to see if this is something feasible for me. So I think it is, and I think we're going to have a lot better year next year. So thank you for everyone who's liked and subscribed. If you didn't, you're going to miss out. So let's get into this video. Okay, so as you can see, we got a lot done since last time you guys would have seen this. The last time where I left off, I'm really positive, we were dealing with the intercooler issue, which it was hanging down too low. It was hitting the bumper where it mounts to the radiator support. So this is the new intercooler we got. We waited for this for a couple weeks. It's a Treadstone 6-inch core. Supposedly this intercooler will handle up to 1,000 horsepower, I want to say. So more than enough for what we're going to need for now. Eventually, when he wants to make big dog power, we're going to have to go to the 9-inch, and we'll have to figure something out. Apparently they can get it to fit, but I don't know how, because we're basically on the header panel here, can't go up any further, and we're basically right at where we want to be down low. So we'll have to figure something out. Got the turbos hung, used Maven turbo mounts, along with some DOM tubing supported on the radiator support, both sides. As I said before, going straight into the intercooler with a coupler so that way it can't blow off. Same thing over here. Just going to use a 90-degree coupler. I'm going to cut this, move the elbow in so that it's not such a tight bend. That's going to be that. So what we're going to start out with, the passenger side, because that's going to take the most amount of finagling here. So we got a lot going on this side. So everything that we've got going on this side here, we have the charge pipe coming around here and going up to the intake manifold. We've got the pipe going from the manifold to the turbo here. And then we have the down pipe going from the back of the turbo to where the exhaust is going to be somewhere back there. The problem with this is everybody that makes a front mount turbo kit, regardless of what engine it's for a Fox or an SN95 platform, they always run the down pipes underneath the K-member, which with how low this car is already, Derek and I both agreed that it's probably not the best idea to run it under, because you're going to have little to no ground clearance and he wants to drive this car. So I don't blame him there. So what we're going to try and do, I'm assuming the main reason they don't run it through the K-member is because just the variance in K-members. Just between this one, as you saw in the last video, just the difference between this one and the one that I swapped it for, there's bars in different spots and everything, supports in different spots, so they can't possibly make down pipes for every K-member that's out there. That's just not feasible for them. So what I'm gonna end up doing first here, I think, is we're gonna basically get the down pipe mocked up just through here so that I know where it's gonna end up being, so that I know if I need to cut this flange off and cock it or not. After that, the biggest problem we're going to have here is the tire hitting the exhaust, because it's going to have to run right through here, and this tire basically comes in pretty close to the frame rail. So I have the front wheels that were originally on the GT on this right now. If you remember, this had Weld ultralights, I want to say they were. I just put these on because if he ever wanted to run a normal tire again, I didn't want him to not be able to because of the work that I did. It's just the little things you got to think of ahead of time so that you don't put somebody in a bind, and so that you don't have to do work twice. Granted, that would be job security, but that's not the kind of job security I'm looking for here. So I'm going to go ahead and get some work done, and like I said, I'm going to go ahead and make that down pipe first and see where everything ends up being, and we'll pick it up from there. These are all the goodies we got here. So all the aluminum piping came from Motion Raceworks because they're just like half an hour away from me. Short and nice drive to get to DeWitt from Dubuque, so that I got a lot of the piping, some of the stainless from them too. These are the pipes for the wastegates because we're going to do all that over again. This is the polished stuff. Not a huge fan of that. I got that from Summit. I got some just generic couplers here. Obviously the aluminum tubings for the charge pipe. The reason we're going from 3-inch to 4-inch, the guy that he's going to have tune this said that he wanted 4-inch minimum charge pipe, which isn't out of the ordinary. The problem is the outlet here is 3-inch, and with the bumper coming in right here, I can't just jump up to 4-inch right away because it's going to completely negate everything that we've gotten going for us to this point. So all I'm going to do is 90 it out of here, I think, just far enough that I can get it out of the bumper. If it takes 180 degrees to get it around the bend, so we don't hit anything, that's just going to be what it has to take. So that's where the aluminum tubing's coming from. I also have some J-bends right here. That's to get us from the manifold to the turbo. And then we got 3-inch down pipes. Just this same exhaust tubing kit that I got from Summit for the GC. So, I mean, obviously we'll use basically all of this from what I've planned out. I might end up having an extra one of these left, which wouldn't be the end of the world. Still trying to get a hold of precision for the flanges for the wastegates so that I don't have to cut them off the old pipes because Derek still wants to sell those. Okay, so we're back. Against my better judgment, I went ahead and made the charge pipe, mainly just because I didn't really want to be sitting around waiting for the flanges for the turbos and everything to come. I had everything in the charge pipe, so we went ahead and made that. I'm pretty sure we got it far enough out of the way to make it so that we can get the dump pipe down through the K-member, blah, blah, blah. Then from the header to the turbo, that should be pretty good. So I have everything now to do that. So what we got here, we got the turbo flanges, the V-band clamps, and the V-bands for the down pipes. We have the accordion pieces from the wastegates to the down pipes, the turbos to the headers, and then the turbos to the rest of the exhaust. These are 3-inch, 2.5, 2-inch. Got both wastegates here. Got the V-band flanges for the wastegates, so I don't have to cut those off the old ones. Got new V-band clamps here for the exhaust where it connects under the car, because I think right now that's just cut off. So, because this car originally had long tubes and everything, so we're gonna use the original exhaust, 3-inch stainless all the way back. Blah blah blah. Also got the O2 bungs for the O2 sensors. We'll go over where we're going to put those and everything when we get closer to that. So I'm going to go ahead and get the dump pipe roughed up, and then we will pick it up from there. Okay, so here we are. Back into the car, front of the car, passenger side turbo, passenger side suspension. Got the down pipe finished up for the most part. Everything's just tacked together. We'll go back and weld everything once we make sure everything else fits. Nothing's going to have to get changed. I did have to shim the K-member down a little bit. We'll get into that later. You'll also notice I got the pipe done going from the header to the turbo. So that was pretty simple, just straight out, like a 45 here, 90 up into the turbo. Yeah, I got it welded to the flange and everything already. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and install the wastegate. This is a precision 46 millimeter wastegate, I'm nearly positive. We'll have 2 of these, 1 for each side. If you had a single turbo setup, you could use 1 bigger wastegate, which would also work just fine, but obviously we have twins, so we have to have 2. The way that a wastegate works is it takes gases that would otherwise be acting on the exducer for the turbo and redirects them through this doohickey here. There's a valve in here, that's where the gases go in. This is where they come out. There's a valve in there, and there's springs on top here. There's a bunch of different ways you can make these work. We'll just stick to strictly mechanical for now because that's all we're going to get into with this. There's springs in here and a diaphragm. So in a good turbo system, you'll have 1-to-1 pressure in the engine for the intake and the exhaust. So let's say you make 15 pounds of boost, you'll have 15 pounds of pressure in here with exhaust gases that will be acting on that exducer. But what this does is once it hits 15 pounds, that valve will open and it'll start metering air out so that it will be able to effectively hold whatever boost you want it to hold. we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and get that wastegate welded in, and we'll pick it up from there. Okay, here we go. As you can see, wastegate's mounted. So basically that's the last thing we really had to do on this side. We will end up going from here back into here, obviously. You can take this and vent it to atmosphere if you want to, but it's just gonna be really loud when the wastegate opens. And in this particular situation, you'd probably end up melting the bumper, and we don't wanna do that. So we will go ahead and use one of those accordion pieces. Since this is two separate pieces and it'll flex everything in different ways, you want to have some sort of flex joint somewhere in, whether it be on this side or this side, preferably on the back side of it. We'll just come out with it with that accordion piece, go into the downpipe, that'll be that. So now we got this side pretty much wrapped up. We're gonna go ahead and start on the other side. I already had that downpipe done. We're gonna go ahead and make the pipe for right here to go from the header to the turbo. I'm gonna get this jacked up a little higher so you guys can see everything, so I can explain everything a little bit better, and then we will pick it up from there. All right, bam! Here we are back on the other side. I got this one basically all the way done. Skipped a few steps because you guys already saw it for the most part on the other side. Got the wastegate mounted. I already put the accordion piece in because these were too short. And I wasn't gonna basically pie cut another piece to get it to fit in here because this is gonna go in anyways. Everything fit, lined right up, that's okay. I wanted to get everything to fit before I put these bellows in. So we're gonna put one obviously on each pipe from the header to the turbo on each side. We're gonna put one on the downpipes, and then obviously from the wastegate back into the downpipe. On the downpipe, we didn't really need it, but it will make it easier to install once everything's together, welded together and everything, to have a little bit of flexibility up here to get the V-band flange to line up. But you really need it going from the header to the turbo, mainly because the turbos are fixed mounted to the radiator support, and the engine will rock, obviously, because it's not solid mounted. It's got urethane mounts in it. So the engine's gonna move, but the turbos are gonna stay still. So that's gonna tweak this pipe a lot under, you know, any sort of acceleration. And eventually over time, you'll get cracks in the welds, more than likely on the flange on the V-band. So you put these in so that it can move and articulate on its own. I like using these bellows instead of using the stainless braided flex pipes that you can get at the parts store, just because these last a lot longer, these are a lot nicer, and they just end up working better and they look better. So after I get everything figured out, finish welded up, and then I have to make a hanger for the X pipe. So the next thing's up, now that I got this pipe done, I got this bellow in, we'll end up going ahead and making this pipe as well. But what we're gonna do next probably is we're going to make hangers for the exhaust system. Mainly for the X pipe, because this is some sort of aftermarket X pipe that doesn't have hangers on it. So we need the X pipe to hang. Otherwise, you end up having the turbo, basically, you have nothing supporting the exhaust from the turbo here all the way to the back of the car. And it's just not a good way to do it. It'll rattle, just not a good deal. So we need to hang it. And another point that I'd like to make is, I think I said this in the last video, but hanging the turbos off the radiator support with those Maven turbo mounts, it works out a lot better because a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure the way that the kit he bought was originally like this, they just run the pipe off from the header, no flex joint here, and they just hang the turbo off of it. I don't like doing that because that just puts a whole lot of stress on all these joints, all these welds and everything. And then it can also, you know, it could potentially put some stress on the motor mounts. That's not that big a deal. But in terms of longevity, it's much better to just solid mount the turbo and then put flex joints in it. Otherwise, it just works out better that way. So let's go ahead and get some hangers made and we'll pick it up from there. Okay, so we're under the car. We're gonna go ahead and get some hangers made. I'm gonna use two of these hangers here. These are sort of isolators, whatever you'd like to refer to them as. I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna do this yet. How they would do it from the factory is there would be rods coming off here and it would mount transmission mount. This being a 6R80 swap, that's not gonna work for us. I don't really wanna go ahead and hack this transmission mount up for something we really don't need anyways. This X pipe already has joints with the mufflers, so usually this joint would be at the back side of the muffler, but the mufflers slide onto the tailpipes. So the tailpipes end basically right at the end of the muffler there. And then they also have a joint here. So I'm not really worried about supporting anything here because those tailpipes are already supported at 2 points in the back. So really all I want to do is hang it from here, somewhere in here with one of these. because then that way you can take the downpipes off without having to take the X pipe off as well, and without it dangling down really bad. So like I said, just somewhere in here, something like that, or like this maybe, I don't know, we'll mount it somehow. And then I'll also make a mount to go somewhere in here for this downpipe, so that you can take the so that you can take the X pipe out without having to take the downpipes out. This is all like a serviceability kind of thing. Usually you wouldn't have to do this, but I don't want him to have to take the downpipes off as well as the X pipe, like if he needed to swap the transmission or something. So once I figure something out, we'll go ahead and start filming again. Okay, so this is what we came up with here. What I ended up doing was just using a piece of angle iron to come off of the bolt for the transmission mount. And then I used that mount that I showed you, obviously here, bolted to that. I welded nuts on the back side, so all you have to do is come in and either take this nut off, because I have the bolt coming through the other way. So just to drop the X pipe, all you have to do is either take these bolts out or take this out, and the mount will slide off, allowing the X pipe to drop down. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and do the mounts up by the wheel, and we'll pick it up from there. I'll show you some things that we got. So the next thing up, we're gonna go ahead and do the mount that's forward up by the turbos, just to support that if the X pipe ever gets taken out, so that the basically just not hanging off the back of the turbos. I got some cool stuff to show you for that, so let's pick it up there. Okay, so these are the mounts that we're gonna go ahead and use for the exhaust on the turbos. Just for the downpipes going from the turbo back to the X pipe like I just showed you. We're gonna go ahead and use these. These are Summit brand, I do believe, for a 3-inch radius pipe. 5 inches long. They come with these nice little rubber isolators here that are heat resistant, so they won't melt with the heat of the exhaust. And then I went ahead and just cut this out just as a standoff for the bolt to go through, because that's the way these work. Go ahead and slap this in there like that. Bam, fold that over, stretch her out a little bit, like that. So you go ahead and weld this on the pipe, and then you put a bolt through that into this, something like that. I'll show you when it's on the car. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut this down because we're only gonna use the first hole here, and just, you don't want all that hanging off the backside. So I will show you that on the car. Okay, so here we are in the passenger side wheel well. Just some nice insurance. It's a very clean looking hanger. I like these a lot. I'm gonna start using these a lot more in my own projects. So that's pretty cool. So the next thing we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and start messing around with the blow off valves. Okay, so one of the last things we got to do here is I have to put these blow-off valves in. On3 stiffed me on the flanges that I was supposed to get, so I just reused the ones from the old intercooler. I'll have to weld those holes shut. The reason we have 2 of these is because this intercooler here is split. It's divided here, and then it's also divided in the lower tank, which is pretty neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hole saw that is closest to this size. I don't know that I want this to slide into the hole that I'm going to drill. I think it'll match the ID of that hole, so I can sit it on there, grind it down on each end a little bit so it sits on the contour of this radius, and then we'll get those welded in. So let me go ahead and get the holes drilled for these, and then we will pick it up from there. Okay, so I got the intercooler back installed. It is all welded up. I forgot to start filming stuff before I put it back in. But it turned out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it. He wanted to be able to see the blow-off valves in the grill, which you'll definitely be able to. I think that looks pretty sinister, pretty badass if you ask me. But so yeah, these are done. Like I said, he's going to be doing all the plumbing and everything for these, so all I'm doing is fabricating and installing. So as far as we're concerned, we're done with this part of it. The last thing we're going to end up doing, I'm starting to finish weld up all the exhaust piping now. I got the O2 bungs installed. The last thing that we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to make the bumper brackets, which I'm not really sure how we're going to do that because this elbow is basically right in the way of where that bumper bracket would have been. So I'm not really sure what we're going to do there yet. We'll figure something out. I'll probably just make something that stands off of this bracket here and then stands off here, comes out here, that can unbolt so you can take the intercooler out. We'll figure something out though. So once I start messing around with that, we'll go ahead and start filming again. All right, we're back with Cobra. I went ahead and got these bumper brackets finished up. You can't really see it, but what I ended up doing was just using a piece of 1x1 tube, just going right off the radiator support. I did that on both sides. I was able to manage to get away from the intercooler pipe on that side. It's in the top corner. These are actually pretty strong. I mean, all this has to do is just hold the bumper from getting caved in with air. But the one thing I did have to do, so normally these pads are 4x5, 4 inches by 5 inches. To the face of the bumper support here, factory is 4.5 inches. The problem with that is that would hit the intercooler pipes. Right now I have probably 3/4 of an inch behind him. So I had to move these pads out another inch. So that means I had to take an inch out of this or else the bumper wouldn't fit. Just cut the plates off flat, welded them back on, nothing special there. Did the same thing there. And now that we finished that up, guys, we are finally done with this Cobra. It's been a long time coming. I've had this car for a couple months now, and it's taken me longer than I care to admit, but I want to do a good job with this. I want this to be something that Derek could just, you know, have on the car, not have to worry about ever. I'm more than happy with the way everything came out. As you can see there, got the wheel back on this side. Everything ended up fitting really nice. You can see it wraps the cam over there, goes back to the X-pipe, all that deal. So now that we got this all finished up, we're gonna go ahead and get her loaded up. She's going back home to Cedar Rapids today. It's about an hour and a half away from here. I borrowed a trailer from a buddy of mine. Shout out to Jeremy for that one. So let's go ahead and get her loaded up and we'll finish this video off. Alrighty there, boys and girls, we got her all loaded up. Got the bumper and everything in the back of the truck. Nice and strapped down really good. So we're gonna go drop her off and then we'll wrap this video up. Alright guys, so as you saw, we finally finished up that Cobra. Been a long time coming, been a couple months since I've had that car, longer than I'm willing to admit. Derek's been pretty understanding. A lot of stuff came up over the summer, a lot of stuff with my dad, with my family, other things coming up and getting in the way. So finally got that finished up before we got snow flying here in Iowa. As you can see, I got the GT inside with me. And the next thing we're gonna start working on is my 1978 Coyote Swap Cobra, King Cobra, sorry. We still have a ton of work to do with that. I still have a lot of fabrication to do, even though I've already gotten most of the fabrication done. I still have to finish up the headers. That'll be some good content for you guys. Then we have to make a whole exhaust system, have to do the body work, get the car painted. We have roll cage we're gonna go ahead and put in as well. We're gonna paint it either 1993 color from a Mustang, electric red, or performance blue from the newer Mustangs. Not really sure which one we're gonna go with yet. If I end up doing the red, it'll be with the original golden orange graphics. If I do the blue, it'll be with the blue graphics. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments below. Like I said, I'm pretty torn, not really sure what we're gonna do there. So I guess you could say I'd be easily influenced. That video is gonna be coming out here very soon, within the next week or so, hopefully. I'm just gonna start off with an introductory on everything that I've done so far, how I've gotten to this point, because I have a couple months worth of work done with this. I haven't touched it in almost a year now. The GT ended up coming in the way with that. Last time I basically worked on this consistently was like right before New Year's last year. So basically been all of 2021 that I haven't really messed with it. Obviously a lot of my time and resources went into the GT. Not regretting that at all. That's been a really great car for us, so nothing wrong with that. But most of my time and resources now are going to be focused on the King Cobra. I'd really like to get that done. It's been almost 5 years, over 5 years now since I've driven that. So really got to go ahead and get that done. So with that being said, that's going to do it for this video, you guys. Y'all take care now.